Hey, what's up, everybody out there in the XRP community? Thanks for tuning in to Investment Perspectives. This is XRP Lockout Part 2. Before we get started, I had a ton of comments and some really great stuff and a lot of the same questions. So let's get to the first thing. What we're considering is our investment possibly being locked out due to a classification issue. That's what we're considering today. We're not saying it'll happen. We speculate our investments here because we're speculators. We're investors, and this is not investment advice, but I am a speculator and I invest my money in the things that I like and that I see. And I'm always, because I'm looking at things early, it really causes for an enormous amount of speculation. Today, I want to dive further into what we did in part 1 of XRP Lockout. One of the main questions that I got was a repeating question of people misunderstanding. We're not talking about the XRP ledger being locked out. That's not going to happen. The XRP ledger cannot be locked out. What we're considering is a lockout that would happen across the exchanges. And the reason we're considering this speculation is because of the fact that the classification on this coin has not been determined here in the States. And it is speculation, but I certainly believe that there's a reason for that, because there's been classifications made in other countries all over the world except here. And I believe that they're holding it back because there's something so defining about that classification. It will absolutely tell us where our investment is going and its original intended use all along. Everything will be revealed in that. I truly believe that. Now, let's take a look at things. So we know exchanges in this particular speculation that we're taking a look at would be locked out due to a classification on XRP. Now, what could do that? Okay, well, if it were to be declared a utility asset, right, and not so much looked at as a currency, we know that Dilip Raul made a statement about the fact that if liquidity from partnerships were to be high enough at some point and mute out the retail market volume buying and trading that sells every day on exchanges like you and me, they could consider a shift in gears to move more towards the coin's original intended use, which was his words, comprehensive institutional global payments remittance. That is not the definition of a retail coin. So let's just take that, shelve it, keep it in mind, and let's get going. So, all right, so we know about the classification. Now we're recapping a lot of this, and I know that some of these things are overlapping in some of the videos, but it's necessary. We have a lot of people moving in on these videos. It's been great with the responses, and it just doesn't hurt to kind of go back through and kind of lay this stuff out. So, not the XRP ledger. We're talking about exchanges being locked out. Why? Because of a classification that they're not sharing with us that I truly believe they already have had planned out. They know exactly what this coin is and they know exactly what it's used for, because Dilip Raul said exactly what it's supposed to be used for. And he also said in that same little video clip, it's a 59-second video clip, that within that clip he also stated, what was it? Not only about the comprehensive institutional global payments remittance and about the possibility of muting out the retail market, but there was another little tidbit that he had in there that was pretty special too. It'll come back to me in a minute. So anyway, this classification shift, could that possibly be the beginning of when they reclassified or classified to begin with and say it's a utility asset, it's possibly, this is speculation, but possibly removing it from the retail buying side and just moving it because it's in such demand and it's such a valuable asset that it needs to be used what its original intended use was, which is comprehensive institutional global payments. So, if they were to do that, we have to ask some questions. Would the retail buying market on exchanges remain open to us? And we also have to ask, would we as hodlers of the XRP token be able to continue to hodl the token without restrictions. We also have to ask, would there be a buyout option? We also have to ask, would there be an option to stay in? We would also say, what would happen if the SEC decided to come out and really put a stick in the spokes and say that this was a security in the beginning, but now it's not, like they have said about other coins. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they said it about Ethereum and then gave them a pass because they weren't at the time when they approved them. So would they come in and say we were a security in the beginning and now we're not, and then use a rescission law or rescission rule? And what's a rescission rule? Let's talk about it. Herson Pullman, I'm going to give you a shout out, my man, because you went into the comments and showed everybody that you went and watched that interview. Now, I saw it originally, Cobb had streamed it, and then I saw it again. I watched it again because CKJ Crypto News, if you don't follow them both. I'm telling you, he posted it on a secondary channel he has called Why Not, and you can check it out there. He lays it out in the comments. Herson Pullman, you really put it down, and I'm going to shout you out here, and I'm going to read your comment verbatim what the rescission rule means and what it does. Let's check it out. If they were to do this is amazing hypotheticals, but the education, I think, is important. We can learn something here. You know what I mean? We can learn something here. So here we go. All right, so the rescission rule is where if a company has been seen to act in a way that isn't technically correct, the rescission can be applied where the holder is offered the original investment back. You get your money back. Now I'm gonna tell you something. That is shitty. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that would happen. What I'm saying is, and look, let's be clear. All right, I love XRP and I love Ripple, but this is my money, and it's your money. And if I'm going to invest my money, I'm not going to sit back and just rah this thing and not hey, but what about us? Like, well, they got our back. I ain't going like that. Now I'm going to get into it, and we're going to find out what's going on, and I'm going to start making enough noise until we get a community big enough to say, hey, what is this thing? What do we own? And are we at risk with our investment? And if so, how much? Right? So, and if not, just tell us. If not, if it's so easy and this is so outlandish, because I do get some people that comment on the occasion that say that this is me over speculating and I'm creating something out of nothing and I'm thinking of things that are never going to happen. And you know what? I hope they don't. But I'll tell you this. We don't have a classification, so we can't say it won't happen, so it's still on the table. And that's the real world. You know what? And that's what we need to find out. And I'm not going to turn my head to anything. I love this coin. I love this company. But I want some clarity here. All right, so now that's what the rescission rule is. And it can only work the way I understand it if they were to use the fact that they were to say, hey, this was a security in the beginning, but now it's not. And maybe that, even that's like some thin ice stuff. But nevertheless, that's not a very fun thing to think about. But, that's how grown-ups look at it when they put money on the table. All right, so now let's look at some other stuff here. What about the exchanges? We all know that we're now over like 200 exchanges we're on. One of the big things that I get in the comments, which is a great point, it's a great question. If they're not going to let retail use be at all at some point, why would they put it and continue to allow exchanges to put it out here for us retail buyers to buy, right? Well, Dilip Rao said, and that was what I was trying to remember. Dilip Rao said in that same 59 seconds that they only created the retail market because they needed to generate an ecosystem for the coin. Those are his words. So now, just take that with what you will. So now, but that doesn't change anything. There's still over 200 exchanges putting XRP on the exchanges, matching it up to major fiat pairs and stuff. Well, what if we were speculating on what the classification could be? So what if we for a second say the classification is deemed like we say it is, And it's so special that it's taken off the retail market. And all of those exchanges just simply stop selling it and offering it in a retail way and just start using it on the back end of every single transaction they have, because that's the agreement they may have with Ripple. And every one of them are going to do it because we all know it's cheaper, better, faster, and more secure, right? So that would mute the point of that to me. That could happen. Now, for a second, let's go over and look at some of the legal framework things that have been happening lately, okay? I did the Marcus Treacher video. If you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to go watch that video. It ties into this stuff so well because it really addresses RippleNet. And just very quickly, RippleNet is the governance body, the global governance body that has been built that no one really discusses. Please go watch that video. The video explains, because everyone says when I start talking about, well, the CFTC and the SEC here have not come out and made their final word on what Ripple and XRP are, right? And they're correct. And they also say, well, that's the U.S. and the domestic side, and they have nothing to do with other countries. You're also correct. Here's the deal. Every country has their own oversight of SEC and CFTC. And we know that the coin is a commodity. Okay, ultimately it's being ruled as a commodity by a federal judge here in the United States. So ultimately it's a commodity. And if we just think about the notion, think about the macro for a second here. This is moving into a legitimate market. The wild, wild west is over. And this is why it's a big deal. This is why the classification is going to be a big deal. This is why we may or may not get locked out would be a big deal. Because it's all about bringing this token and this coin into market, because we already know that the hodlers that own this know exactly what this thing can do. It does what no other coin does. And it's going to run the world. Right? So if you pull back and look at the macro and understand that this is XRP being moved into the commodities market, so it can be stabilized and brought a brand new digital asset introduced into the commodities market all around the world, right? Just like the price for gold, oil, and silver is the same all around the world. You don't see, and that's one of those bridges we got to get across, right? Is while we're thinking about this, we have to constantly consider that it's. I know that we're waiting for the final decisions here in the States, but this is a global network that is all committed. It's already been developed. RippleNet has been created. It is a global member committee group of the largest powers to be in countries, governments, financial regulators, everybody you can imagine all over the globe that are on this committee that is tied in, and they have been voted on the committee. So everybody that's on this committee is agreeing to compliance, and they're agreeing to global consistency in the regulation of what this will be. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to say it's the same thing in their country as they do here. I already know that in certain countries it's a currency in one and it's a commodity in the other. But at the end of the day, the classification hasn't been made in any country yet, because that's got to be done here. And when it's done here, it'll be universal everywhere. And what we need to understand is that because that global network of RippleNet and that governance body has already been created, okay? So whatever finally settles in here, it's going to be the send off for the way everything gets rolled out. Because remember, again, the 200 exchanges that we're on, they're not just going to be out there solely doing whatever they want. It's not going to happen. If they do, XRP will discontinue to carry their coin there. They're going to do what they want them to do, or they won't be a part of it. That'll be the way that goes. You can bank on it. XRP and Ripple, the company, they're not the kind of company that's making mistakes along the way. Their mistakes happen backstage, right? Nobody gets to see them. The way they operate on the front of house is everything's proper. And the reason that is because the fact is that this was all commissioned by the Federal Reserve way back in the day when they brought the Federal Reserve Payment Task Force together, and they got everybody together, all the big players all over the globe, the biggest ones in the economy from every different sector, and figured out it's got to be Ripple. They're the ones doing it, right? They're the ones that are going to handle it. So this is what I'm saying. It's like I feel it's a responsibility at this point to really, really drill down on this stuff and make sure that we're looking for the clarity here. Okay, so let me keep it moving. So federal judge, we know, ruled all cryptocurrencies here in the United States to be regulated. They are commodities and to be regulated by the CFTC. That was done through that My Bitcoin case that happened, and then we had that large ruling out of that little case. Now, we know we still have Ripple's upcoming case, and there's a former SEC chairman, I believe, representing them in that case. Okay, now we're going to get to more of that in a second. And then we also know that I was watching Thinking Crypto. If you don't follow him, I really would. He had showed the article about the judge slaps down the SEC over ICOs, saying it's too broad a brush. You got to go to trial, sort this out. It looks like there's too many differences between all the ICOs. May need to come up with some classifications that the SEC doesn't already have in their rule book, because there's never been such a thing. This digital asset stuff is so new. So the ICO side, and whether it's on, the side of a commodity or a straight currency, this is all a new asset class that's coming about. So here, that's what that points to me. It looks like these cases, these court cases we see, appear to me to be like the legal pins that are set up to get the judgment to set legal precedent, so they can get off of the legal precedent. Once that case been finalized, they get the decision they need. You have the legal decision, and you can build your regulations off of the legal decision. Entities and governing bodies and stuff, they have regulations and their inside rules and bylaws and things, but those things are crafted off of legal framework. That's what's missing. And these cases, I believe, we're seeing that are in front of us now are the actual little pins that are hinging on setting that legal decision, so they can go ahead and craft the regulations they need for the SEC, for the ICOs, and for anything that the CFTC or any other governing body or oversight entity needs to do to fall in line with the legal compliance and the decisions that have been made, so they can regulate this coin properly in a new asset class. Okay, I know that's a lot. So let's see. Let's go to the interview at Consensus with Jay Clayton from the SEC. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to say it again. CKJ Crypto News has a secondary channel called Why Not. He just posted it an hour or two ago. It is a must watch. It's a must watch. Really, matter of fact, I'm going to put the link in the comments below this video. Please watch it. The gentleman who is interviewing him is not just some journalist. That is Glenn Hutchins. And I know about him because of CKJ Crypto News. And did I happen to tell you to follow him if you don't follow him? Glenn Hutchins is a very, 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 very bright, rich, smart man. And he is, among many other things, part owners of the Boston Celtics. He's the current president of the New York Federal Reserve Bank in New York. He is also sits on BlackRock Investment Group trillions of dollars of asset management. He's made a fortune in the private equity business. He also sits on DCG Group with Barry Silbert. All this I know because of CKJ Crypto News. Follow him. He's got videos on all these guys. It's a breakdown. Just search through his videos, and it's well worth the watch. Believe me. Glenn Hutchins also sits on DCG Group with Barry Silbert. DCG Group are direct founders and investors to Coinbase, Kraken, Ripple. And he's sitting on stage interviewing the head of the SEC, Jay Clayton, who go out here every day and smash ICOs so much. They started smashing them so much that a federal judge came in yesterday and said, whoa, slow down with the bat, fellas. You know, you're going to have to go to trial and just get a nicer brush and just, see what's going on with there's differences between some of these things. You can't just slam them all, right? But that's how much they've gone on a rampage. You've seen what the market's happening to the markets, right? So this guy is slamming anybody. It's the SEC's job to slam anybody out here who's operating as a security illegally. He's directly asked about XRP and has nothing to say because they're currently taking a look at it, and he's not allowed to publicly speak on it. Jay Clayton is an outspoken man. He has no problem telling you what the hell's on his mind. I can tell you that. That man got a lot of energy. Now, there's no way I see them personally coming out and saying that this is a security, because they have admitted, and Ripple has admitted, that they have worked with the SEC closer than any other coin out of the over 2,000 coins that exist on the market. There's no one that has worked closer with the SEC than Ripple. That's why I see that whole decision that we're waiting for as complete theater. You think that Jay Clayton would be sitting on that stage casually talking to Glenn Hutchins, who is a founding investor into Ripple, and they're not discussing something that is, I can't touch it, we're taking a look at it right now, right? Sitting across the chair from the man who is a founding investor in Ripple. What do you think? You can't make this up. That's why I say it's theater. For me, it's theater. Because at the end of the day, if he thought it was going to be a security, that means that all these coins are now shares, and it is worthless because they can't use it that way, right? So I just see that as just complete theater, and I encourage you to go watch this video. Really go watch this video. All right. I think we're there. I've covered a lot. I know there was an enormous amount of comments. And look, again, there's so many of you guys got yourself together. I mean, you just dropped some great insight and stuff. Like I said, I love this coin. I love this company. But this is something I feel like we have to think about. And some of the things that we're looking at are directly little things that we see coming from within, statements from within Ripple, what have you. Are we reading too much into them? I don't know. But it's a very easy thing for everybody in Ripple to come out and go, you know what? Retail holders won't have a thing to worry about. Doesn't matter where we're going, right? So, all I can say is that this is where we're at. I hope I've brought some clarity to this idea of trying to find out what is going to happen to the classification of this coin. And I'm going to leave it right there. Leave your comments below. Please hit the like and subscribe. You guys have been so kind to me. You said some very nice things. I really, really can't thank each and every one of you enough. I really, truly am grateful to be able to have this conversation and this medium for us to be able to talk back and forth to one another. I'm learning an enormous amount, and I hope I'm helping somebody out there. This is not intended to scare anybody or upset anyone. Let's put our emotions aside. This is our money. Emotions don't make you money. I'm not a financial advisor. You know what I mean? This is for educational and fun purposes. But the truth is, I don't try to bring my emotions into my investments. The two don't belong together. I hope I've helped in some way, and I hope you guys are having a good night. I'll talk to you soon. Leave some comments below. Talk to you soon. Bye.